Okay, so I got a package the other day, and on this package was a little label, a red box, red letters inside. I think you probably already know what it said on my package, right? And on that package, it just said fragile. And it got me thinking, like, what is the opposite of fragile? What's the opposite of fragile? Have you ever thought about that? Like, I want you to think about this right now. If you have your journals, get it out, like, get your journal out, and write down a couple words. Like, maybe there's 1, 2, or 3 words. Don't go crazy. I mean, oh, hey, go crazy. I don't care. It's your journal. Do what you want. What is the opposite of fragile? Some of you guys may have a really evolved thought about this. Some of you guys might be the first time you're ever having it. It doesn't matter. Just write it down. There's no right or wrong answer, but what is the opposite of fragile to you? Most people, if you ask them what's the opposite of fragile, they're going to say robust, unbreakable, strong, powerful, right? And so you tend to just go right to Hercules, right? I mean, hey, he's the hero of the story. He's the center of this whole animated adventure. But I'm not talking about Hercules. Not at all. Why? Because the opposite of fragile is not strong. The opposite of fragile is not unbreakable. Because what fragile means is if it takes damage, it's broken. So if it takes damage, it gets worse. The opposite of it if it takes damage, it gets worse is not if it takes damage, it stays the same. Unbreakable, strong, that means if it takes damage, it stays the same. It doesn't take damage really. So something negative happens to it and then it stays in the same state. That's not the opposite of fragile. The opposite of fragile would be something that if it takes damage, it gets better. In fact, instead of a fragile label on a package, and the opposite of a fragile package would say, please break me. And if I threw it on the ground, it would actually get better. It would be more, the value of it would be improved instead of diminished. That's the opposite of fragile. Now, this is a concept that I didn't come to on my own. So many of the things we teach, I got somewhere else, right? Because like anyone else, I'm learning all the time. Nassim Taleb in Antifragile introduced this word to our language, antifragile. Antifragile, and this came to him as he started to try to find the actual opposite of the word fragile in the English language. He's a linguist of sorts. He wanted to know what's the opposite, and there really wasn't. And the closest word he could come up with was hydra. Why hydra? Because when the hydra takes damage, when Hercules cuts the head, 3 more grow in its place. Every time Hercules cuts the hydra's head off, 3 more grow. The hydra is anti-fragile. It actually gets stronger and grows every time it takes damage. The hydra is anti-fragile. It actually gets stronger when it takes damage. Living this way, living your legend, is about becoming like the hydra. No, I don't want you to look like the hydra. I don't want you to smell like the hydra. I don't want you to be a screeching giant monster that tries to eat people. What I want you to do is, like, when you take damage in life, and you will, let's be real, damage happens in life. There are things that hit us, that hurt us. I want you, when you take damage, to be stronger, to learn the lesson from that and come back better. In order to be the home run champion, you're going to have some strikeouts behind you. And that's okay if you learn. If you fail forward inside of your life. I want you to look inside of your life and start thinking about, are you really the opposite of fragile? Most people are, hey, I'm not fragile. Not fragile is not the opposite. That's not enough. It's not enough to be strong. It isn't enough for me in my life to just say, well, bad things happen, but that made me strong. I don't always want to build back to zero. Why? I want to build more. I want to take the next step and the next step and the next step until there are no steps to take. But I got a feeling even when there are no steps to take, after I die, there's another adventure after that. I just don't know what it is, so I won't train you about it. This concept will be powerful for you if you let it. Where in your life are you settling for strong? Where in your life are you settling for endure? Right? I used to be really wrapped up in this concept of endurance. I like endurance races. I'm training for a triathlon right now, but I wanted to endure to the end of my life. I wanted to survive. But the problem with survival is it's just not enough. It's scarcity thinking. It's thinking that I have to have done something, held on, and then I could be something. No, I don't want to just endure. Yes, I have to endure in order to grow. So yes, endurance is important to me. Yes, keeping moving, like not dying in the face of adversity is a good thing, but that's not all there is to life. I want to thrive in the face of adversity. I don't want to go to ego and laugh at adversity. That's crazy. I'm just setting myself up for a fall because that's ego driven. What I'm saying is I want to be able in the face of adversity to thrive and grow and do everything else that I always set my mind to do. That's anti-fragile. When someone hurts me, I take that hurt in, I process it, and I become stronger. Have you figured out that we're talking about the spark? Triggers, things that happen in your life, you put them through, you grab the lesson, you start learning that lesson. Every single negative thing that happens to you can make your life measurably better. This is how I created the man you know as Coach Kevin. One spark at a time over 6 years of doing this nearly every day. I have taken the prize from the negative things that have happened to me, and I've let them fuel me. Imagine a piece of glass that when you broke it, it got thicker. It got stronger. How cool would that be? It would be anti-fragile. Most people don't even aspire to be anti-fragile. They just hope to be strong. They just hope to endure. That is not what living your legend is about. It's not about survival. It's about thriving. Thriving. Where in your life is it time to become anti-fragile? Where in your life are you settling for strong, for unbreakable? Don't be unbreakable. The great thing about anti-fragiles is it still connects. To be unbreakable, you've got to disconnect. That's no way to be as a human being.